name is Jennifer Conrad. I'm the managing editor of the Arizona Ascent magazine. And today I'm here with a special guest, Kelley Keffer, project manager with the City of Mesa's Economic Development Department. We are here at the Mesa Business Builder, the city studios.
Yeah.
So our location's a little bit different today, but Kelley, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to join you. I really appreciate that.
Well,
And I'm honored.
Well, thank you for coming on because what you guys are doing here at the City of Mesa, and especially LaunchPoint, it's phenomenal. And so I would like to get a little bit of background info on you, how you got into, economic development, and just give us a little bit of breakdown of what's going on in the City of Mesa.
Wow. Yeah, that's big. But we'll start with my background. So I've actually been doing small business and entrepreneurship development for about 20 years now. So I've been around a while. Previously, I owned a company for 20 years in high-end finished carpentry. So construction contracting. I also ran the Small Business Development Center in Mojave County for about 7 years. I taught small business and entrepreneurship at the community college. And I came to the city about 13 years ago. So I've been with economic development for the last 13 years, and it's been a lot of fun to watch the city of Mesa kind of go through this renaissance, particularly in the downtown area. When I first came, we were doing the light rail extension, so everything was kind of torn up. It was a little bit beat up. And that was really my introduction to starting to work with the small businesses here in the city, because obviously with construction, that was a detriment to the small businesses, and we had an assistance program. And I got a little bit involved with that. And over time, it has just really evolved to where we are today. So as you know, Mesa Business Builder, that's kind of our overarching brand for our strategic initiative. And underneath that Mesa Business Builder umbrella, we have 9 programs and services now. Who would have known? I mean, I just never would have guessed when I first came here, kind of not having much of anything, to 9 full programs and services under that umbrella. So it's really a pride point, I think, for the city, to really, and for our citizens and our businesses to know that the city is just so invested into having opportunities to help them be, better at their business and to grow and thrive here in the city.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a phenomenal what you're doing. I've been here 15 years. I've been here since from 2009 until now, and just to see the community, Maricopa County, different, like Phoenix, the different cities just go through, like you said, this renaissance, and like everybody deciding like, hey, we want to be a part of that, and just to see a city so proactive in helping their small businesses, because like Arizona Ascent, we believe that small businesses are the backbone of the community. And so can you go into kind of some of your programs that you offer for these small businesses? And I know that you were telling me earlier that you help different businesses from different industries.
Yeah. So I think that that's probably the most exciting piece of what I do. Typically, economic development, most people think of it in what I'll call the traditional sense. So attraction, business retention, business expansion. And we like to talk a lot about the big wins, like, bringing Meta or Virgin Galactic's building spaceships here in Mesa. And those are great. Don't get me wrong. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But my passion is small business and entrepreneurship development. And just the phenomenal, crazy intelligent, they're so ingenious with, what they're doing. So I work with everything from pharmaceuticals to advanced composite materials, medical devices, software and hardware and app development, to Main Streets and retail and restaurants and solopreneurs and consulting businesses, contracting companies. I love the fact that I have all of this exposure to so many different people doing so many different things. And for me, I grow every time I sit down with a business and I learn about who they are, what they do, what drives them, what their goals are, and how they're contributing to the local economy, because that's really what this is all about. And I think that COVID really put the spotlight on the importance of small businesses to the local economy. Without them, we're in trouble. And I think that, providing services and having these opportunities to help them is super important. And I know that that was a long kind of segue into what are we doing here in Mesa. We have 9 programs and services under that Mesa Business Builder umbrella. We kind of break it down into 3 buckets. information and communications, education and training, and then what we call specialty spaces. So information and communications is our mesabusinessbuilder.com website. It's a great place to start to see what is it that we do and what do we offer here. We think it's pretty comprehensive, easy to navigate. We have a business resource guide, which is being updated on a regular basis. So a couple times a year, we're looking at it, making sure all the information's correct. That's broken down into 16 chapters. So hopefully it's easy for you to, if all you care about is, hey, I need some help, I need some data and doing some research, then great, go to that chapter. Or I want to know where the incubators are, go to that chapter. So we've made it, I think, pretty easy to navigate. Then we also have our monthly newsletter called The Business Advocate that goes out to about 9,000 subscribers. I curate the content on a monthly basis. We average about a 47% open rate, so I get super excited about that.
Well, that's exciting.
It's big. It's a big number.
Yeah. And that shows the engagement of the small businesses and how they're receptive to what the city of Mesa and the economic development program is doing for them.
Absolutely. And it also, it helps me to gauge, so is what we're putting in here, is that relevant and of interest to you? And if I start to see a slide in those open rates, then I'll be like, okay, well, maybe we're not really hitting the vein and we need to kind of go back and retool and think about, okay, what are they interested in to make sure that we're covering that in our newsletter. And then we also started we have a brand new podcast, the Mesa Business Builder podcast. So I'm sitting down with experts across all types of fields to, talk about different subjects of importance to small businesses.
Yeah.
And then we'll be moving into starting to actually invite our businesses in and start talking to them and learning their stories. So not unlike what you're doing. Yeah. Let's hear from the businesses themselves and learn more about their story.
Yeah. And it's truly amazing because we had a nice conversation off air, but I told, Kelley here that at Arizona Ascent, our mission is that we believe that, real estate drives business drives community, and community drives action. And it's the entire ecosystem.
It is.
And it's so important that, we, 290 people move here a day to the Phoenix metro area. And then last year they had, 2023, 56,000 people move here. And people love Arizona. People are moving here, and it's nice to know that the cities that they're moving to, they choose to build their business, build
raise their families here.
Yeah, absolutely. That they have a city that supports them in their goals. And we don't see that a lot of cities across the nation.
Absolutely.
And I always tell people, like, I'm like, what? I tell people, like, I live in the best county and the best state in Arizona. It's because Maricopa County and all of its communities really go to bat for their residents.
I think so too.
Yeah. And I always tell people all the time, I was like, hands down, Maricopa County, the best.
So, of course, some of our other counties might be, so you hear that with a little chagrin, but that's okay.
Yeah, right? No, yeah. I just really love the whole state of Arizona. But talk a little bit about kind of like, how does a small business come to you, like, say, Kelley, I need some help. What's the process for them, and how do you guide them to the right fit?
Fantastic. So remember I said 3 buckets, and I talked about the first one. Let's talk about the second one. So that's education and training. So with that, we have a small business assistance program here in the city of Mesa, where we provide free professional consulting and advising services to small businesses. They have to be for-profit, 25 or less employees, and a verified Mesa address, and they have to have a Mesa business license. That's it. That's all you need. You could be a home-based business and qualify. So just to make that clear as well, they come into that program, and then what we're doing is we're matching them to our partner that have the sub-consultants, and that's everything from advice. It could be tax advising, branding, marketing, business strategy, finance. Just think soup to nuts, all of those topics the small businesses often struggle with, because you might be really great at, again, being a carpenter, but that doesn't mean that you understand how to do your books. So what we're trying to do with that small business assistance program is give them a couple more hats on their team, and then we're paying for that for them. We also do Mesa Business Builder Educates You. So for businesses in that program, we actually pay tuition and course fees at Mesa Community College in 14 certificate programs. And that's for up to 2 people per business, up to 2 classes per term. As long as they're in the program, they're qualified as well for Mesa Community College. And then we have our Mesa Hub platform, which is a digital online 24/7 platform. It has a community board. I always tell people, think about it like as a Facebook wall, but for businesses.
Yeah.
So that's what that community board is. There's a grant opportunities page. So Hub goes out and combs for grants and then makes all that information available We also have our learning library. So there's about 200 recorded training sessions. Again, soup to nuts, any topic you can think of. A member directory, an events calendar. So you know what events are coming, what trainings are coming. And we're trying to make that all accessible. The city pays for all of this on behalf of the businesses in Mesa. It is free to the businesses. And I want to continue to just really emphasize that Mesa is doing this on behalf of the business at no cost to the business. And I think that that's really important because a lot of communities may have options, but they also may be pay to play.
Yeah.
So, and you know, you were talking a little bit earlier, and what you were saying really makes me think of the word holistic. And we're trying to be really holistic in that approach, in that, you know, you're doing one thing or you're doing something else, but how do we really look at it from a support standpoint? How do we really look at this and make it a holistic effort where we're providing services and or access across the board for our business community?
Yeah.
And then those other two things, so that third bucket is what we call specialty spaces. You mentioned LaunchPoint earlier.
Yeah.
We have a business incubator here in the city of Mesa. What is unique about our incubator is that we have office spaces, but we also have wet and dry labs. Wet lab space is extremely difficult for businesses to come by. So with that, we've had about 70 businesses that have been at LaunchPoint. They've raised almost $500 million, created almost 400 jobs globally, but that's in everything from pharmaceuticals to medical devices, just environmental services. But it has been just an absolute pleasure to be involved. And I'm not a scientist, I'm a business person. So every time I sit down with one of these businesses, I have to say, okay, treat me like I'm 5 and explain to me in words, you know, in a way I can understand what you're doing. But I also find that that's so helpful for them because many times they're very technical and they have a real hard time getting their concept and what they're doing across to regular people like us. Oftentimes that may mean finance or bankers too. And they just, you know, they're talking so technical that nobody knows what they're talking about.
It kind of goes over your head.
Yeah. So, you know, when it comes to trying to interface with our program, certainly contacting me is the fastest and easiest way to get connected. But mesabusinessbuilder.com, our websites are super helpful as well.
That's amazing that they can come in and they can like work on their product or whatever. It's a prototype. You have that space. And a lot of the businesses I've talked to, and they say that's like one of their biggest struggles is to finding that, you know, if they want to scale or they want to get a prototype to the market, is finding that space because that costs a lot of money.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. So there's two things. It's finding space. That's challenge one. Affordability is challenge two. And so from a LaunchPoint perspective, the way the city of Mesa views this is we're a net zero game. So what that means is we're not in this to necessarily make money. If we can pay the light bill, right? Pay for the general expenses to keep that building functional for these businesses. That's really what we're after. So what does that really mean to the average person? That means that our lab spaces run $25 per square foot per year. You're not going to find that kind of a rate anyplace else. And the thought process behind that is we don't want to take all your money out for lease payments or for rent. We want you to have as much as you can so that you can invest back into your business. So hopefully the intent is you grow and then eventually you graduate and we hold you in Mesa, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal. And we've done that successfully a number of times.
And that's really the importance of that, of the city and just the other communities I've talked to, is that they're really focused on the small businesses because, you know, you show as an example, you know, they're way out in the mountains and not a lot of people want to relocate, but they're doing their incubator and they really want to help, like, keep the businesses here, you know, keep the businesses here in like Mesa, Show, and keep them here so they don't have to find another place that's attractive, so that if they move cross country, and I think that's just such a win-win for the company and the community. Is if you treat your business community, you know, you treat them in the right way, they're going to keep their jobs. You're going to build that partnership, and I think that's so important.
In our world, we call it economic gardening.
I never heard a word of it. I never heard a word like that.
Yes,
It's
economic gardening.
gardening.
So, you're planting your seeds and hopefully you're going to grow your garden and then you harvest your garden, right?
Yeah,
So, what we're trying to do is we're trying to nourish them and help them grow and stay in our community, as you said, so that they're creating jobs, they're
yeah.
providing for their families and their employees' families. So, it's all super important. Again, I know we like to talk about the big projects, but my passion, what I get excited about is small
But yeah.
businesses, early stage companies, because to me, they're just as important.
Oh yeah, no, and they are super important, and that's kind of like what we like to do here at the at Arizona Ascent and inside the Ascent podcast is like we want to focus on the small on the small businesses because you can go back and you can look at that journey and just see the growth and just how because we believe that they're they are the job creators. Yes, we're excited about like like you said Meta, Facebook or Google coming here, but when you see like a true like Arizona base built company and they get to that national level,
Yeah.
there's a sense of pride in that.
Absolutely. That's why we like to talk about companies like Urbix. They started in our incubator. They came out of U of A. They came to LaunchPoint. 3 guys, 3 offices, 1 lab. They grew to 7 offices, 3 labs, and they're here in Mesa. They're expanding again, and we're working on a much bigger expansion project with them. But we love to see that type of opportunity and that sort of growth here locally in our community. And they're in advanced composite materials. So
Yeah.
great company. We're super proud to have them here. And, how is it that we foster more of that Arizona innovation, Arizona growth, and then again, that retention here
Yeah.
in our state?
Yeah, it's amazing. So my next question is where do you see, the Mesa Business Builder? Where do you see the small businesses like in the next 5 to 6 years as Mesa grows? Because we know I looked at the data, like the real estate data, people are moving here in droves. And Mesa, we're hearing Mesa in the news. People are, a lot of fantastic things happening with here you guys at the city. And what is that future plan?
Yeah, great question. So again, I'm always trying to be a little bit future forward in my thinking because, the economy, things aren't going to look the same 5 years from now as they look today. So how do we kind of be strategic and plan for what tools and resources do we need to be thinking about now for these businesses 3 years from now and 5 years from now? That's why the studios where we're at today, we built this out with Alienware computers for digital and app development. We have AR, VR, we have the headsets, we have this
Like
podcast
yeah,
studio. And, everything is more and more content driven. People don't read, they don't want to read anymore, right? It's all about content. So, how do we create a place where small businesses, because investing in this type of equipment, it's very expensive.
yeah,
It is cost intensive, if not prohibitive. So, the city wanted to make this available for small businesses and entrepreneurs so that they would have access to be able to do these things. So I think that, this ever evolving and shifting technology and what's happening, it really means you have to stay kind of focused and plugged in. But also, I think for Mesa, historically, we have never really focused on, I'll call it restaurant and retail type development. We've been very focused outside on looking for those bigger employers, attracting that type of business and jobs, high quality, high wage jobs. But with that, we've been fairly successful if you look around
yeah,
Mesa. So now the intent is how do we bring more retail and more restaurant, more of that higher end focus to Mesa so that we're serving all of our folks here in the city. So our residents have places to shop, places to
yeah.
eat. So you'll see that Mesa is going to start doing a lot more in that retail restaurant type
Okay.
space as well. So I just say, keep your eyes open. We're always evolving here.
Yeah.
And I think that our department does a really nice job, and the city overall just does a really nice job at being intentional,
Yeah.
being very intentional with our investments and with our strategy.
And listening to the community.
Absolutely.
That
That's an ongoing
yeah.
conversation.
And that's what's so important because you see a lot of cities across the United States that don't listen to their communities.
Yeah.
And I think like again, I'm biased. Arizona, the cities here
Yeah.
are just doing a phenomenal job listening to
Yeah.
their citizens and providing that.
Great point. Because I think a lot of times, people will create programs, even like what we've done with Mesa Business Builder, and then we're going to tell you what you need. Well, it doesn't really work like that. What we need to do is turn our ears on and say, you tell us what you need, and then we build so that we can serve you. And I think that that's kind of what we've done here is really we did a lot of community talks, a lot of engagement before we invested into this type of programming and space to learn from the businesses, what is it that you need? And then how can we help fill the gap?
That's just amazing. Kelley, thank you so much for, for coming on the podcast and being a big supporter of small businesses. If a small business wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you? How can they help? Like, how can they get involved? Or can you give us some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I would recommend they do is go to mesabusinessbuilder.com to look at all of our programs and services. If they want to reach direct, they can email me, and it's Kelley, Kelley, Keffer, Keffer, at mesaaz.gov. Certainly reaching out to me, I can connect them to resources and share more information. If they're interested in the studios, this also has a website. It's MBB for Mesa Business Builder, thestudios.com. They can check it out, see all of the amazing things that are available here. They can reserve and book time in our studios. Yeah, any of those will work. And then my direct line at the office is 480-446958.
Kelley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And Kelley's interview, and we're going to get pictures of the studio, will be in our July issue.
Wow, thank you so much. It's been a blast, and I'd love to have you come on our podcast.
I would love to. Thank you. All right.
Excellent. Thank you.